Hello, I'm Stephen Jerome again, and I'm going to continue reading from my third novel, The London Year, just out. You can get it on Amazon and all those book-buying places. So this is part 25. The next day, it became clear that my pairing off with Peter had rubbed Carlos the wrong way. He'd found him first, though he didn't put it quite that way. So presumed priority, even if, though I didn't say it, it seemed clear that they had little in common. Either way, it was a touchy situation. When Peter came over the next day, Carlos was at work, but we didn't feel right about going behind Carlos's back, as it were, and having sex in the flat. But no matter the circumstances, it was love, for me at least. I'd never fallen for anyone so quickly or so hard. Before Peter's departure the following day, and with a long bank holiday coming up, we made plans that I would visit him in his hometown of Nijmegen. This is in Holland. Carlos wasn't pleased. At first I assumed he was jealous, which I could understand. Then I realized his moody silence was more than that. Our pairing, me and Peter, our pairing had left him feeling abandoned and lonely. As arranged, I bought my ticket for the boat train trek across the English Channel to Holland. On the eve of my departure, I called Peter's number to say I was on my way. A young man answered the phone. "May I speak to Peter?" He asked who I was. He said his name was Hank, Peter's flatmate. I explained the plans we'd made. "Is he there?" I asked. There was a long silence. "Peter's in the hospital." "Hospital? What happened?" I heard Hank groping for the most careful words. "He's suffered a mental breakdown." This came totally out of nowhere. "But we made plans," I said, thinking only of myself. "He's expecting me." More careful silence. Finally, the story came out. Peter's visit to London had been ill-advised. His family saw the signs of a looming mental episode even before he departed. The restlessness, listening to Karl Orff's Carmina Burana over and over, which even I knew was the soundtrack to madness. It wasn't the first time. Hank said they'd all tried in vain to stop Peter from traveling. By the time he returned to Holland, he suffered a complete collapse. Peter was manic-depressive. He heard voices. He was off his medication. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "I'd still like to come," I said, but my heart was already beginning to break. Considering all this, I began to connect the dots. The dogged trekking was not a tourist's curiosity, but demon-driven compulsive walking. He told me he had trouble sleeping. I wonder if he slept at all. Our time together was but a respite from the voices, which were gradually taking over when he was left alone. I misread everything completely. Love, however, would not be deterred. When I finally arrived in Nijmegen after a train ride from Amsterdam, it was nighttime. Hank met me at the station, and I was put up in a chilly, enclosed porch which doubled as a guest bedroom. I said I'd visit Peter the next day in hospital if that was all I could do. "He'll probably see you, but he won't be well," Hank said. After that, everything was anticlimactic. When I did see Peter, he was lucid, smiling weakly, but extremely subdued from medication. I met his parents in the hospital room where they were helping gather his things. They were kind and appreciative that I'd come so far to see their son. I went with them to their home. I kept looking for signs that his family life was at cause, somehow crazy-making. There were no such signs. His parents were gentle people living in tidy, seemingly normal circumstances. They seemed helpless as I was to explain what was happening, and were clearly worn down. Their only son had had psychotic breaks since he was an adolescent. I slept with Peter in his large bed, but cuddling was all we could muster before he dropped off quickly into sedated sleep. Neither of us were in any shape to perform. I left the next day, 1 day earlier than planned. Everyone said their comforting goodbyes as I boarded the train back to Amsterdam. Hank had kindly arranged a place for me to stay with a friend of his there. He was a very good-looking guy, and under the circumstances, I would have jumped at his, albeit shy, invitation to share his bed, but I was done, wrung out. All I could do was walk the beautiful streets of Amsterdam, licking my wounds until it was time to catch the ferry back to England. So I'm going to stop there. Stay tuned for part 26. Thank you again for watching. Things are ramping up, I see. All right, stay tuned. Bye-bye.